Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. As the transfer window slams shut, we're live talking this Saturday morning about football, but also the aftermath of last night, because there is a really big shock loan clause for Jadon Sancho as we send him out of Manchester United for good. There won't be a return unless something shocking happens. We'll talk about that. Also, Erik ten Hag apparently rejected 2 late exits from Manchester United yesterday involving Antony and Christian Eriksen. Did he make the right choice? And also, Rabiot is still a possibility. Is it just a fan theory, or is Rabiot still potentially a possibility for Manchester United? Well, yes, he is. Will Manchester United pursue that possibility? He's a free agent, so is Hermoso, so both players could still technically sign for Barcelona, Man United, PSG or whoever. They are available. So we will talk about that as well. But let's get into Jadon Sancho out of Manchester United. Still, look, I've got an interesting thing I want to talk about in a few minutes, actually, about this. I call it over-the-top fake positivity from certain people on Twitter, TikTok, here, in the meet, whatever. I think there are some people who just, paint a rainbow of Man United and everything's positive. And I just think it's fake, because there are some very big risks on the horizon. And if those things go wrong, those fake positive people will suddenly go, you've got to be realistic on a journey back. There is a mountain to climb and we will slip. You've got to be realistic, and not everything is rosy, and not everything is rainbow, and not everything is great. We'll talk about that in a moment, because I do believe that the Sancho deal for me still retains risk. Of course it retains risk. He is going to a Premier League rival, motivated at 24 years of age, and what we're basically hoping for is that he absolutely falls on his arse and fails again. And I don't know whether that's necessarily going to happen. If he does okay, it's more than he's done at United. I mean, he's not played for United for a year. Not played for the first team for a year. So, look, there is a risk around Sancho. But, let me talk about this shock clause in his deal. I wasn't aware of this last night when we ended the show. I am now. So the Jadon Sancho loan deal to Chelsea is a loan with an obligation to buy. But as we said last night, that obligation could be, as long as he plays 20 games, we'll buy him for 25 million. It gets better than that. As long as Chelsea finish in the top 14 in the Premier League, they've got to buy him. So Chelsea can only not buy Sancho if they finish below 14th. So I think we're all just hoping Chelsea finish 13th, because that would be absolutely hilarious. But it's better than we might have thought. I mean, an obligation to buy is an obligation to buy, but there will always be breakouts and everything like that. But Chelsea, well, it's definitely done, says Derek. Yeah, I mean, there's no way Chelsea aren't going to finish in the top 14. Therefore, the deal gets done. It's £20 million. It can go up to 25 with add-ons. But ultimately, I'm not really that motivated by 30, 35, 40. Because we were never going to achieve that by making a club have a loan with an obligation to buy. Because they're basically... There is risk from Chelsea, of course there is. We talk about the risk for us if he does well. The risk for Chelsea if he does badly is they've got to spend £25 million on him next summer, or 20 million quid. So there is a risk for Chelsea there, of course. But I think for Manchester United, where we are this morning is we've washed our hands of Jadon Sancho. Who's the winner in all of this? I mean, I don't know. Who is the winner in all of this? I think... I don't know who the winner is in all of this. I think that I look at what the club did for Scott McTominay, and I think you have 2 very different things here. I'm ecstatic that Scott McTominay's gone, because I don't think he's good enough for where we want to go. But definitely had the right character, definitely had the right commitment, and definitely cared about the football club. And to that, he should always be applauded, and we all wish him the best. But 100% happy that he's going. Jadon Sancho is completely different. Jadon Sancho is more talented than Scott McTominay, but Jadon Sancho has got no respect, arguably for himself, but certainly not for this football club. So I think that how I feel about the Sancho exit and who the winner is, I think it's just nice to draw a line underneath it. It's not like Greenwood, but with Greenwood, I think it was just, let's move on. And I think with Sancho, it's the same. Very, very different circumstances, of course, but it's move on. And I think with this obligation to buy and Chelsea got to finish below 14th not to buy him, I think when we see Sancho now, we're just like, well, he's not a Man United player. Technically, he will be until the summer, but he's not a Man United player anymore, and he's never going to be a Man United player anymore. And as we speculated last night on Sancho, and looking at a few messages this morning, it's very, very clear that United's stance on Sancho, and I don't think we'll get any statements from United. I don't think we'll get any comment from Ten Hag about it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think we will. And we're certainly not going to get a 4-minute compilation of Jadon Sancho's time at Man United. You'd be better off showing his EAFC highlights. But I think Manchester United will just move on and stay quiet. But what's coming out of United from what I heard this morning is that they are fully aware of fan concern. They are fully aware of the risk of loaning a player to or giving a player to a rival. But ultimately, the risk is not sufficient to outweigh the desire to remove this player from the football club. Therefore, they see it as a calculated risk. They know that he could go to Chelsea and play well. But the challenge for Manchester United is even if Sancho does go to Chelsea and play well, we'll be better than Chelsea, which I like. I like that mentality. And that's basically what the club stance is that there is a risk that Sancho goes to Chelsea and does well. But our plan is to be better than Chelsea even if he does. So we will swallow up that risk the same way that Pep swallowed up what Palmer's done at Chelsea. He was brilliant, but Man City still won the league. And I like that mentality. And also the second part is that obviously United wouldn't ideally be loaning or giving a player to a rival in this league, but that was the option on the table, or keep him, and they would rather give him to Chelsea than keep him, which shows you the extent of the problem with Jadon Sancho. The football club do not want him here anymore. His wage is gone. 300 grand a week, 250. I noticed how Sancho's wage has gone up to 300 grand a week now, by the way, but I think it always was. 300k a week gone off the wage bill. That's what, £2.5 million a month. So it's not £2.5 million a month. It's 1.2 million pounds a month, and you know we've cleared quite a bit of wages this season. When a lot of people are adding to their wage bill, we've reduced our wage bill with Varane and Martial and Sancho, very big earners, all gone. And we've removed the problem that, look, we know about United. We know about United and the leaks. And there's a lot of people mentioning Rashford. I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's fair. Marcus Rashford's got a big job on this season. We know, look, honestly, hands on table, we know Rashford is tight with Sancho. We know Rashford's not been very good for a year. He's got his own thing to deal with this season. I don't think we need to be throwing stones at him about his friendship with Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho was actually quite popular with a lot of players at Man United, especially a lot of the younger players. So we're going to say that they're no good either. You know, Sancho wasn't some sort of demon. You know, he was quite liked within the dressing room with certain players and certainly in the youth. So it's not fair to, you know, shine a light on Rashford in any other negative way. If Marcus Rashford isn't happy about Jadon Sancho leaving, then the door is there, but no one wants to buy you. Marcus Rashford's got his own path to run, and hopefully, look, even if Sancho was a negative influence on Rashford, maybe that negative influence will make Rashford better, but Sancho wasn't here last season either, so I don't think the Rashford-Sancho thing makes any difference. We're talking about Jadon Sancho, and I think that this is very brave from Ineos and Man United, what they've done. And I think we need to trust it. It's as simple as that. This happens in football. It didn't work out. They've taken 11 million in wages off as they owe us 20 million next year. Chelsea are laughing. They just sold a 98 million striker for 26 million. I'm more annoyed about Mount than Sancho, says Sean Turner. Football for life. Yeah, well, it's actually funny. I saw a little meme this morning about how Chelsea fans are sort of taking the piss out of us, not really because of Sancho, but for Mount. And they're treating it like some sort of swap deal, even though they're a year apart. And basically there's this picture of Mount for Sancho and Chelsea and Man United. So you've got Man United hand, Chelsea hand. Man United hand is passing an iPad to Chelsea, and Chelsea are passing back a bag of pasta. It made me laugh, because actually, in the world of who's better, Sancho or Mount, Chelsea feel that they've got the better deal. And they have at the moment, because Jadon Sancho's fit. I personally think Mason Mount should be a better signing than Jadon Sancho, but we can't get Mason Mount fit. So we are open to ridicule on that one, because we give Chelsea £55 million, didn't we? But look, that's something that Man United need to sort of look into. But, you know, Mason Mount is a player that we'll probably talk about now the transfer window is closed a little bit more. We've saved 350k a week on his wages. See what I mean about his wages? Like 2 weeks ago, when I was saying get Sancho out of the club, he's on 300k a week, everyone was saying it's 250k a week. Now we've got rid of him, it's gone up to 350k a week again. Mad. Sancho at Chelsea's beyond me, I can't speak, says Rub, who is a Chelsea fan. Let us know what you think, Rub. Can we all take a moment to say thank you to Arsenal for taking Sterling so he couldn't be part of any Sancho deal? I'm very happy about that. Hi, Mark. The Pratt. I've got 2 tickets to Oasis, says Andy. Well done. Well done. If you've got your Oasis tickets. Daniel Morris, thank you very much for your super chat as well. I think it will end up being a good deal for us. Sancho will not be as good as we thought. Love the show, says Christian. Few things I want to bring in as well. We can continue to talk about Sancho this morning, but also apparently, according to numerous reports this morning, Erik ten Hag turned down 2 deals yesterday. Now, when they say Erik ten Hag turned down 2 deals, obviously we have a committee. You know, you've got Dan Ashworth, Barada, Fival, Wilcox. There are people on that committee. It's not just Ten Hag turning it down. I will talk about Rabiot in a moment, forever. But apparently, I forget the Spanish club. I should have known this. I think it was Betis. It could have been Sociedad. It might have been Atletico Madrid. I forget the club. It might have been 2 separate clubs. But Manchester United apparently received 2 loan offers yesterday for Antony and Eriksen, both of which got turned down by Erik ten Hag, which means it might have gone into the committee who said, we're open to doing it. What do you think, Ten Hag? And Ten Hag said no. That's the way I read it, because Ten Hag has this veto. And quite rightly, he has a veto when it's 2 players going out on transfer deadline day. And I don't think the committee of Dan Ashworth and co are going to be moody because Ten Hag said no. But it just shows you that these sort of deals, it was Betis, thank you very much. These sort of deals do happen on transfer deadline day, or at least the offers come forward. I was expecting this morning, and it's quite interesting that this one's come out. There could be others. There are a lot of things that get offered on transfer deadline day that we sometimes hear about and we sometimes don't. There'll be all sorts of offers that were offered to Chelsea and Arsenal and everybody else that they said no to because people will try it. I mean, we saw Elanga to Newcastle. There's a stupid late bid from Newcastle in desperation. Obviously, that didn't happen. So I think that I don't dispute the fact that it's not unlikely that someone like Betis put forward a loan offer for Antony and Eriksen. Ten Hag turned it down. Do I agree with that? I probably do. Whatever you think about Antony and Eriksen, we're not in a position where we could loan either of those because we'd be down to 3 wingers if Antony went, and we'd be down to what 4 fit midfielders if Eriksen went. So look, Eriksen should have gone. Lindelof should have gone. Maguire should have gone. And we did try to get rid of Casemiro, but we are where we are and we've got what we've got. And I don't really believe Eriksen's going to offer a hell of a lot to us this season because I just think last season after that injury, it's very obvious that he doesn't really offer much. I mean, I don't even know where Eriksen plays. I personally don't think we play Eriksen in his best position. I think he's a 10. And I think playing Eriksen as an 8, asking him to run backwards and forwards when he can't do it is incredible to me. But at the end of the day, you loan Eriksen out and you don't get a replacement, you're a midfielder down. You loan Antony out and you don't get a replacement, you're left with Ahmad, Garnacho and Rashford. So I think that we had to say no to those, and I think Ten Hag is absolutely correct, unless anybody thinks anything different. Colin has gifted a membership. You're an absolute legend, Colin. And is there any chance we can pick up Rabiot and Hermosa on a free? Also, I finished reading your book, and I hope you make more, says Edward V. Thank you very much. Christian D. Forrest has just gifted 5 memberships, by the way. Absolute legend, pal, and big shout out for that. If you want to order the book this weekend, by the way, you can scan that QR code with your camera phone and get it ordered. You could be listening to me in like 20 minutes if you go for the audio book. Let's talk about Rabiot. I do want to talk about that. It's an interesting point, and I think it will look. What's the truth with Rabiot? Man United fans, some of you never shut up about it yesterday. It's a fan theory. Adrien Rabiot is a fan theory. Christian's probably in the chat. He's been on about it all summer. He wanted him and Amrabat. Rabiot is 100% a Man United fan theory. He is available. Nobody has signed him. The transfer window is closed, but he is a free agent and he can sign for Man United today, tomorrow, or the day after. It doesn't matter, or the day after that. So Rabiot can sign for anybody. I don't think Anthony Martial signed for anybody, has he? Either, which is incredible to me, by the way. I don't actually understand this summer transfer window in many ways. I mean, Martial maybe many things, but surely somebody would take Anthony Martial. You know, he might not get the wages he wants, but anyway, Rabiot is available and has not signed for anybody, and effectively since the Euros has not been training with anybody. Really weird for a 29-year-old to be in that position. Has he pitched his expectations too high? Yes. Did he put unrealistic wages against his name? Yes. Did nobody take the bait? Yes, they didn't. I think Rabiot kept himself back to the end of the transfer window, expecting some desperation and somebody to pay him what he wants, and it hasn't happened. So Rabiot himself has now sort of pitched himself as a mercenary in many ways, because he's negated a pre-season. He's basically said, I'm going to go anywhere for the money, and he hasn't, as a free agent, gone, it's my dream to play for Liverpool, that's what I want to do, or it's my dream to play for Manchester United, that's what I want to do. He's basically pitched himself absolutely everywhere and ended up nowhere. So Rabiot now is in a position where he's got to reassess his options and sort of go a little bit bowl in hand saying, do you want me? Do you want me? And clubs are probably going to go, well, 2 weeks ago, you're pitching yourself out at a ridiculous fee, and now you'll take a reduced fee. We're looking for players that are committed to the project, Adrian, and your chance was 2 weeks ago. So I don't know that anybody realistically, I don't think Man United are going to go in for him. That's my point. I think Man United avoided Sterling for similar reasons. And I don't think they'll look at Rabiot as being the right profile of player for the project that we have. And also, Eriksen's still here. So you've got Ugarte, Casemiro, Mainu, Bruno, Mount, Eriksen, Collier. Whatever you think about those 7 midfielders, we have got 7. I know for a fact that Eriksen should have gone, and there would have been an Amrabat in here, but we've got what we've got now. And I don't think we will move on Rabiot. But look, it's a fan theory. He is available on a free transfer, and he could be signed, but I just don't think Man United want him. And I think the only reason, really, the only real links to Rabiot are that we tried to sign him last summer and the summer before. Can we get to see Ugarte versus Liverpool, says Shiva? No, we absolutely can't. He's not been registered in time, and he will not be part of the squad. Treat Sancho like oncology surgery, says Terence. And Luke Jones says, Chelsea is last chance saloon for Sancho. Pep didn't want his attitude. Dortmund find his timekeeping, and United want rid. Let's not forget Maresca is from the school of Pep. Can foresee issues again. Colin Bulger has gifted a membership there. And Edward has already asked about Rabiot. Eriksen can't play, and Collier is not good enough yet. Kobe will have to play all the games if we don't want to lose, says Nguyen. And there is no risk to selling Sancho for us, as he wasn't good enough for us. If he becomes good for someone else, then good for him. Doesn't affect us one bit, as he will always be crap for us, says QT. Well, that's your opinion. Here's another one. Jadon Sancho goes to Chelsea, ends up with 5 assists and 5 goals. They end up 3 points ahead of us. We end up in 5th. That's the risk. That's the risk, is that he plays well for Chelsea and gets Chelsea more points than us. That's the risk. You're right. At Man United, he was never going to do anything, but we didn't need to give him to Chelsea. We could have kept him here and, kept him out of the way. We hopefully could have got him out. It's not normal to send a player that you've fallen out with to a rival. It doesn't happen that often, is what we're saying. There is a look. Nobody can tell the future. We've got to respect and trust what Ineos have done, and that's the reality that we live in. But I will not shake my opinion on the fact that we shouldn't be doing deals like this. But we had to do a deal like this. That's fine. But we shouldn't be doing deals like this. And there is a risk. There is a risk. Of course, there is a risk. And you know what? That makes a great point. I think since the Brighton loss last week, and we can talk about football now because the transfer window is closed. When we talk about football, we've got a massive game against Liverpool tomorrow, haven't we? I mean, that is the big focus. Reminds me, actually, we've got a video on Agate coming up at lunchtime. Watch out for that. You're going to really enjoy it. But when we talk about Man United and we talk about Man United now, there was a lot of mistakes made by Erik ten Hag last Saturday. A lot of mistakes. And we lost that game of football. Tomorrow, we play Liverpool. That is a big risk. Sancho to Chelsea is a risk. Not having a left back is a risk. You know, Mason Mount, Yoro, Højlund, Luke Shaw, all injured. They are risks. So, risk surrounds Manchester United probably a little bit more than it does some other clubs at the moment, to be honest. We you know, a lot of clubs do have a left back. A lot of clubs haven't got the injuries we've got. A lot of clubs haven't loaned a player to a rival that might come back and bite them on the arse. So there are elements of risk around Manchester United. Realism is what I would say. And also, if we lose to Liverpool tomorrow, that's risk. That's 2 losses in the first 3, and that's a problem. That's problematic. What I find interesting at the moment is there are people in our fan base who are over negative, of course. There are people like us who are optimistic and hopeful but can see the risk and the reality. And then there are some people who I mentioned last week who seem to just spend every minute of every day pontificating and preaching positivity and trying to make everybody else who has watched football for a long time or, you know, can see the risks feel guilty, because what we should be doing, according to them, is walking around with our tops off with Ineos and Glazer and every other positivity thing we can do about United, saying everything is fine, everything is perfect. A bit like that meme from The Naked Gun where he's there going, everything's fine, and behind him, the house is on fire. Now, the house isn't on fire at Manchester United. I think there's a lot of reason to be positive. I think the transfer window was strong when it could have been a lot worse. And I don't think it was possible to do a lot better. So I think we've done really well in this transfer window. I think we've brought some good people into the football club. But I will not lose what we must always have as United fans and what Liverpool fans always have, which is accountability and standard. I will not be preached that from people telling me everything we're doing is absolutely fantastic and we shouldn't moan about it. Now, the Sancho thing, that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the risks. Like, I'm fed up of being told that last week criticism against Ten Hag was unfair and that's not what real fans do. Because this positivity preaching, it's almost as nauseating as the negativity about Ten Hag out. Like, there is a very firm in between here at the moment. This season, you know, you can take your positivity preaching and you can take your Ten Hag out and go and have a chat, because the reality is the truth is in the middle. This community and a lot of United fans fought valiantly for Ten Hag to stay. That battle is over. He's here. I'm not preaching positivity about how great he is now. We fought for him to stay. He's had a lot of good transfers. His biggest problem has been removed in Jadon Sancho. It's time to deliver. The transfer window is closed. No more excuses. We've ranked the transfer window. We've got the players in. We've got the players out. We go with what we've got. There are no more excuses. There are no more excuses. There is no let's go out onto the village fake green and hold hands and sing, you know, everything is happy, everything is great. There's going to be bumps on the road up the mountain. And, as much as I do not like the negativity Ten Hag out brigade, I'm also starting to find the preachers of positivity just as nauseating. Football is about opinion, and football is never easy. And for every positive, there's a concern. For every risk, there's excitement. And I look at United at the moment, and absolutely, I do not see Ten Hag out, bold fraud nonsense. But I also don't see just everything's great. Everything's great. Get behind this. Get behind that. Oh, we've done this. Oh, we've done that. Oh, I love this. Oh, I love that. I'm like, come on. If we lose to Liverpool tomorrow, you're going to look a complete mug and you'll go into hiding or you'll change your mind. If we lose to Liverpool tomorrow, they're going to be cheering like mad. Bottom line is, we need to see improvement this season. And nobody's got a crystal ball. My prediction is 4th place and win the Europa League. But that's a big prediction. But that's really what we've got to go for. Anything less than that opens up the door of risk. And as we've said, positives, massive reduction in the wage bill. Really good positive from a business sense. Positives, some really toxic elements removed from the football club that needed to go. Yes, some still remain, but look, you know, as somebody mentioned, sometimes when you have an infection, you know, or you have an operation, you cut it out, you hope everything's gone, but you might need to go back in again. Positives are that we've removed some of those elements. Positives as well. I'm happy with every signing that we've made. None of them really concern me. I completely am on board with all of that. Positives, Ten Hag stays for year 3. We complete the trilogy and hopefully it builds into something more. Positives, Dan Ashworth, Barada, Wilcox, Favell, Rude, René Heck. These sort of people coming in are football specialists. Positives, of course. Risks. Because that's where everybody positive stops. They're like, yeah, get the swimming trunks on. We're going in the swimming pool and we're having a barbecue. They're only interested in the positives. Risks are this. No left back. Big risk. Big risk. Liverpool tomorrow. Lose that game, you've lost 2 of your first 3. Even as somebody that wants Ten Hag to do well, you can't lose 2 of your first 3 games. It's a risk. Not getting in the second midfielder. Risk. Some players staying that we wanted to get rid of. Lindelof, Eriksen. You could say Maguire and Casemiro. Risk. Jadon Sancho is a risk in a certain way because he is playing for a rival that's competing for top 4. Injuries. Last season we were absolutely obliterated by injury. That is a risk because already you've got Sancho, Shaw, Rasmus, Yoro, Mount injured. We've only had 2 games. So injuries are still a risk as well. There was another risk and I've completely forgotten it now. But there are risks. There are risks around this season that we have to go in open-minded, I think. We have to be. And like last week, I think a few people were shocked when a lot of us in this community who desperately wanted Ten Hag to stay were then critical of Ten Hag. But I don't understand that mindset because when Sir Alex was in charge, he'd pick a team and you'd go, why has he put Beckham on the bench? Even though he's the greatest manager ever, you'd go, well, I'm still going to criticise that because that's what we are as a football club. We ask questions. We don't just settle. You never settle. You ask questions. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? So, look, it's all about... Oh, I know what the other one was. Risk. What about Onana? Is Onana not a risk this season? If he plays like he did last season and we don't use him properly, that could cost us goals. We've mentioned people like Mason Mount, Marcus Rashford. They've got to have good seasons. Anthony, year 3, got to have a good season. So, Casemiro at the end of last season was a liability. Is he a risk? So there's so much we don't know. We don't know a lot, and we will learn over the next few weeks. The transfer window, we do know, that's closed. Positive, generally positive. But we now walk into the real work. And, all these bloody positive preachers telling us everything is great. How do you know? Have you shoved a crystal ball up your arse and shat out the truth? No, you haven't. That would be the way. Have you swallowed a crystal ball and... Not Christopher. Don't swallow Christopher. He's too old for that. Have you swallowed a crystal ball and shat out the truth? No, you haven't. You're just guessing. You're preaching, and I don't know why people do it. I don't know why they try and ram this fake positivity down people's throats when they've got absolutely no idea what's going to happen. And if we lose tomorrow, they'll be there being as negative as anybody else. Accountability is the word, I think, now. Look, you'll all have different opinions. Some of you will be going, Goldbridge is talking sense. Some people will be saying Goldbridge talks shit. Why change the habit of a lifetime? We've been doing this for 10 years. But what I think personally is that where we are now, it's accountability. That's the word. We need consistency is a word we do need. Of course we do. But it's about accountability now. Every game is going to have to be critiqued. Every decision has to be critiqued. If there are no more excuses, and we're in the last chance saloon with this manager, then every decision and every game has to be accountable. Some people are looking for a style of play. Some people are looking for favouritism FC to stop. Some people are looking for us to be winning every game. Some people are looking for us just to be better than last season. Some people are looking for progress towards something in the next few weeks, but results to come with that. We all have our own accountability, is what I'm trying to say. But this is not just the season where you just go, just relax. Just be positive, everybody. Let me put another tweet out. What's everybody moaning for? We've done this, we've done that. We've reduced the weight range bill. We've got 2 strikers now. Just get behind this manager and Ineos, and everything's great. No. We are behind the manager. We will trust what's going on with the ownership. But we're Manchester United. There's accountability, and we're not just going to sit there and watch shit football with shit decisions and shit results. We have to have some accountability now. It's season 3. And anybody who's got a problem with that, what does Erik ten Hag always say? Always says it. He said it for 2 years. Manchester United must win every game. Well, I tell you what, I back this manager, so I'm gonna listen to what he said. We've got to now start winning every game. And we won't win every game, but the accountability must be there when we don't win. And maybe we won't win at the Etihad because they're better than us, and we'll go, you know what, we're still on a journey. But when we don't win at Southampton, maybe there'll be a little bit more of a kickback as to why we're not winning that type of a game. And accountability is what we're talking about, because big decisions have been made this summer. De Ligt, Mazraoui, Xerxes, Yoro, Agate, good signings, big decisions. Greenwood, Sancho, Wan-Bissaka, McTominay, big decisions out. Accountability. Some players still here that shouldn't be here, whether that's Victor Lindelof or somebody as big as Marcus Rashford. Some people would have got rid of him. That's completely unrealistic. Nobody wanted him and he was never going to go. But big decisions have been made all around that football club, around the playing squad. Not bringing in a left back. Relying on a left back who has not played for this football club since February, who went to a major tournament for his country and then got injured again. Big decisions not to bring a left back in. Accountability. And I embrace it. I'm excited about it. We've been doing this for 10 years and we've never, ever, ever, ever just been about let's go live and scream and shout negativity. But on the other hand, let's not go live and just scream and shout positive, positive, positive. I think that's why people enjoy it, is because we are pragmatic and we can be positive, but also look at the other side of things. And I think that's the word now. I'm so released. I'm so happy that the transfer window is closed, because it's great to have the transfer window, but it does become very tiring, and it does get to a point where, look, I wanted a left back, and I'm sure we all did, but the window does need to close. And if we're not getting a left back, we're not getting a left back. Let's close the window. Because yes, we've had a couple of games with the window open, but it is a bit of a distraction when, Brighton, have we got Agate yet? Whereas I don't think when the transfer window's open, you truly analyse the football. I've said this before, a lot of you have been talking about Onana, and I've sort of like gone, that's a half an hour conversation on an evening show, which is very difficult to do at the moment because everyone's going, what's happening with the left back? What's happening with Agate? Whereas now that transfer window is closed, we can actually delve into stuff in a better way, in a more realistic conversation. Because I think there are a few conversations to be had about this team and where it is at the moment, and how it's going to develop over the next few weeks. Because accountability is the key and results are important. And we're playing, I think in some ways that transfer window is closed, and yesterday was hectic, of course. You've got Agate official at 9:30, and then you've got Sancho, here we go, out at 9:45. I mean, that was an amazing 15 minutes. Before the before the Fulham game, you've got, here we go, Wan-Bissaka out, here we go, Mazraoui in, here we go, De Ligt in. We've had some amazingly, centralised moments. But we're playing Liverpool tomorrow. Our biggest home game of the season is tomorrow. And you've almost got to take a breath today and just get yourself ready for that tomorrow, because that's going to be the story from Sunday, probably till the middle of next week. Because whatever unless it's a boring 0-0, if we lose that, boom. If we win that, boom. And it's a massive, massive game tomorrow. So accountability starts now. There is no rest. I don't want to be in a situation tomorrow night where if we lose to Liverpool, people are going, oh, wow, we didn't have Agate. That's not an excuse. That is not an excuse. It's a factor. It is not an excuse. I don't want to lose tomorrow and people go, oh, we didn't have Agate. We've never had Agate. Check our history books. Agate's never played for Manchester United. He's never played for us. So Agate is not an excuse for tomorrow. And also, Manchester United did that deal late in the window, knowing full well we were playing Liverpool at the end of the window, knowing full well the season started 2 weeks ago. So Agate is not a excuse tomorrow. And we cannot be losing to Liverpool at home, because if we do lose to Liverpool at home, we've done that plenty over the last few years. Are you a special guest on the Oasis tour, says Little on Quality? Yeah, I'm just going to do cup of tea and biscuits. Hello, Mark. Love you in the community. Do you know what our actual spending is for this transfer window, says Shadow? I don't know, and I personally don't care. I've sort of given up on net spends and everything. They don't make sense anymore. I almost feel embarrassed that we used to do that, and we did. We put our hands up. We did used to go, we've spent this and we've bought this, so the net spend is this. I've seen a couple of journalists talk about it this summer, and I think even they have realised it's a complete and utter waste of time. We do not need to worry about net spend anymore, because if you start adding up transfer fees and then you start adding up exit fees and then you start mentioning net spends, it's fantasy, because you don't know how much we've paid. We definitely didn't pay 35 million for Xerxes, because his release clause was 32, and we paid a little bit more so we could spread it out. So we might have only given 12 million for Xerxes this summer, and we might be giving 20 next summer. So there's no point in trying to figure out what we've spent and what we haven't spent, because some of it will be for next year or the year after. The bottom line is we've done reasonably well. And we've done a very good job in reducing the wage bill, and I'm very happy with the players that we brought in. J-Deep says it's the United stand. Stands are balanced, like the opinion here. Thank you, J-Deep. This should be considered Eric Ten Hag plus Ineos first year and not his third year. Agreed, there needs to be accountability, but why fired by Christmas is a thing, says Zico. I mean, I think this is a great point. Does anybody agree with Zico there that this is a reset for Ten Hag? Can I just get a poll on this? This is a great question. Should this be treated as year one for Ten Hag? Just yes or no, that. Yes or no. Patrick Lynch says everything is neither green or red. It's amber. Lots to be positive about, but concerns too. That's normal for every walk of life. Football is the same, says Patrick. I just think, although it's not the same, you know, when you see people calling Ten Hag a bold fraud and they're constantly negative, Sancho FC, you know, I see that as very negative. I don't think that helps the football club. I get the opinion. I don't respect it, but I understand it. You know, championing Jadon Sancho over Man United is just weird. And some people will do it. It's weird. I find it weird. They might find me weird. Fine. There's no need to get personal about it. Ten Hag out. I find that weird. And I think overall you would describe that as negativity. But I also find weird the constant positivity. And I think people, the constant positive people are doing it for likes and retweets and reputation, because they're either really thick or really manipulative, the positive people, because they're positive all the time. And I think they're manipulative to try and make people think, oh, how great they are. But they must be thick if they don't see the risk. And I don't think they're thick. I think they know the risk. I think they're just glazing over it for popularity. The positive people are just as annoying to me, because I want to have a real conversation. I want to have a conversation about, you know, not getting a left back is a risk. I don't want to be told oh, we're going to get relegated without a left back from the negative people. But I also don't want the positive people saying, we'll be fine. Lindelof could play there. You know, Johnny Evans could play there. Well, fuck off. They're not left backs. Why have we not got a specialist left back? So that's the conversation I like. You know, I'm behind this manager. I'm behind this club. I'm behind these players. I want them to do well, and the praise will come from good performance. But let's not pretend that there are elements of risk. Otherwise, have we had our eyes closed for the last 10 years? Dari says, I do feel happy with the transfer window under the circumstances, but I do feel that our position is fifth. If we bought a number 8 and a left back, I'd probably feel different, says Dari. Scholes came to my school in Bangkok and said he watches United Stand. I'm told him the mainstream is terrible and deluded, says Football for Life. I'd very much doubt Scholes he watches the United Stand, but even if he did, he's a legend and we all love Scholesy. We all love all of them, really, but we do, like I just said there, if Scholes comes out with something negative, we'll talk about it. If it's something that's a bit too positive, we'll talk about it. If it's something in between, we'll praise it. And Paul Scholes, Gary Neville, Roy Keane, they've all come out with stuff that transcends that, just like me and you do. And that's the conversation, isn't it? It's never personal. It's just the conversation. Unfortunately, Rip, he's probably, I don't know where Rip is. Is he too negative, too positive, or just too deluded? I don't know. When you factor, say, Sancho's wages are 15 million for the year, which we won't have to pay, the total package is about 40 million. Great from any team, says Laka. I think last week was just Ten Hag trying to show Ineos that he wants to keep Scott and that he was worth, but it backfired. I'm glad Ineos did the right thing, says Anant. Chelsea are paying his wages for the season, Sid, and just wanted to give a shout out to Ineos for selling 130 million worth of average players. We're on our way to get into a deeper squad, says United AV. And don't forget the positive of the 3 young lads we've brought in as well. There's good stuff there as well. Sancho was never elite anyway, but he might come back as average, says Devi. How do you rate the transfer window, says Pritish? 7 out of 10. Strong 7 out of 10. Defo, Obi and Kone become first team stars, says Scott. And now Oasis are back together. At least the empty head will finally sell out. PS Manchester is red, says KC. So, should this be treated as year 1 for Ten Hag? 57%. I mean, I think this is one of the best questions, and this is why I'm glad the transfer window's closed, because now we can start getting into football chat. So should this be treated as year 1 for Ten Hag? 42% say yes, 58% say no. I'm actually quite surprised that that's not far off being 50-50, but is more 60-40. I'm encouraged and actually quite happy that 40% feel like it should be treated as year 1 for Ten Hag. I think that's very generous. And as somebody who is Ten Hag in, I don't agree. I think this is year 3. You know, Ten Hag can't have a reset and go back to year 1. It's year 1 for Ineos, 100%. I don't think it's year 1 for Ten Hag. Yes, it's the first time a Man United manager in 10 years has had proper structure above them, and that has to be taken into account. But I don't think it's quite a reset year 1 for Ten Hag. I'm not saying it. I think there's a happy medium. I don't think he's like, you lose a few games and you get the sack. I think that would be unfair. But on the same hand, I don't think he can just have a completely, oh, it's a brand new start. And let's be honest, the media aren't going to allow that anyway. I think we're sort of somewhere in between. Like, I don't think it's the same as season 3 for Mourinho or Ollie, where it went wrong and it was like, they're not the right guy, get rid of them. Because a new ownership and a lot of players brought in that he wants means that there might be a little bit of time and leeway and reasonable adjustment. But I also think that he's won a Carabao Cup and an FA Cup in his first 2 years. So if it's a reset, are we ignoring those trophies? And he won't want that. So I think that it's not a complete reset for Ten Hag. There has to be standards. There has to be accountability. And the element of excuse has to be removed unless a very big excuse presents itself. And I look at last year, Anthony got arrested, Sancho refused to play, Rashford went out in Belfast, the club didn't get bought till Christmas, we ignored the January transfer window, we had a massive injury crisis of which we'd never seen before. I mean, what a list. What a list. They were very, very good mitigating circumstances. And unless we get stuff like that again, which I don't think we can, I don't think it's possible, we've got to be in the race for top 4. We've got to be in the race for top 4. It's as simple as that. And I think that's why, for me, it's not a reset and it's not year one for Ten Hag. Because in year one, you wouldn't necessarily demand top four. I demand top four. I look at the way that Champions League has changed. We should be in that. It's embarrassing that we're not in that. We were very lucky to be in the Europa League. We've got to be in the Champions League next year. I think that's the line. Forget top four. Forget winning the Europa League. We've got to be in the Champions League next year. Financially, it's a must. But also status-wise, it's a must. We've got to be in the Champions League next year. And we've got 2 bites of that cake. 1, win the Europa League. 2, get in the top 4. But we've got to get into the Champions League this year. That's what I think. Mark, even an average left-back is better than a world-class right-back playing at left-back. Going into the season with only Luke Shaw is baffling, and it's a huge risk, says I See Dead Bodies. It is, but don't tell the positivity brigade, because they don't want to listen, that there might be some risks going into this season. I think we need to be more aggressive when we have a lead, go for the win. Sometimes it feels like they sit back and hope to pull out a win, says United AV. I still think that there is a mentality issue with Manchester United, and I'm glad that you're starting to raise these sort of questions, because I want to get into them. Maybe we can talk about it a little bit more on the 8 o'clock show tonight. But I noticed it against Brighton when they scored, heads dropped a little bit. We really struggled. You know, Brighton actually had the best chances at 1-0. Welbeck hit the bar, clearance off the line. Even this season, in that Brighton game, goal behind, and possession went up for Brighton, and heads went down for United. That is something to keep in your mind, actually. Last season and against Brighton, when we concede, the opposition's possession goes up and our heads go down. It's weird, because normally you concede and your possession goes up as you try to get back, you know. But United, we've got to change that as well. Started making some positive changes to the squad, but still feel we are not top 4, says Michael Pickering. We're a couple of injuries and we could be in trouble. Brilliant book, says Andy Bell. Is it coming out in paperback? It will do eventually, yes. Come join me at 7:45 on the Napoli stand, says Robert McCormack. Special guest star Ricky. Thank you very much. Look, I've got to get off. I couldn't do 10 o'clock this morning because I've got a football tournament to go and watch. I am on That's Football for West Ham beating Man City later. You've heard that first. Check it out. Don't forget our Super 6 League, by the way. If you're in the Super 6, get involved in that. But if you're not in it, then by all means, scan that QR code. It's free to play, and the code is UTDS6. Just 6 Premier League predictions. You could win £1 million in the big game, but in our league, UTD-S6, we've got a £100 voucher to give away each week, and bragging rights. So get involved in that. You just predict the scores for 6 Premier League games, one of which is Man United Liverpool, and I'm going 2-1 to United. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Keep an eye on. Make sure you smash a like and do subscribe, because we've got a great video coming up on Agate around lunchtime. I'll be back at 8 o'clock with you tonight. I'm not doing Arsenal Brighton, I never was, and but I am doing West Ham Man City, and I'm doing Newcastle Spurs before United tomorrow. So that's my weekend watch along schedule. I'll be on Twitter and stuff, but I'm off to watch a good tournament. I'll tell you about it later. One of my kids are playing in it, and it's good standard, so I'm looking forward to it. Take care, everyone. Stay safe, and really excited about some of the stuff we're going to be talking about over the next few days as well, and a big game tomorrow. Take care. Speak to you in a bit.